Hi folks, welcome to Yale Appliance. I'm Chef Saba, and we're here in our Framingham showroom doing a live demonstration on our Hestan Pro range. Behind me in the center is the 30,000 BTU burner, which we're going to use to sear and use a wok to make a Mongolian beef dish. Over here on the 22,000 BTU burner, I am boiling and now actually using my simmer mode to hold my celery root and onion mixture that's been boiling away in milk actually. So I do want to point out that each of the burners, including the 30,000 BTU burner, does have the extra high option, which will come out of the larger outer gas ports, and then the inner ring that is meant to simmer. So you'll have two gas ports on each one. So that means you'll get the extra high heat as well as the extra low heat. Now it definitely will vary depending on the BTU on each burner. So here we're able to gently simmer something that has milk in it. So it will prevent it from boiling over or scorching and burning on the bottom. In the center, I'm going to go ahead and preheat that. That is our extremely hot 30,000 BTU burner. I'm actually going to slide this off so you can see the height at which we're getting. You can feel the heat pretty high up off the top. And if you notice, there's quite a bit of space all the way around it. And that's mainly to protect, obviously, anything else that might be cooking peripherally, to make sure there's not too much of transfer of heat from the center 30,000 BTU to the outer burners. So we're going to go ahead and preheat the pan and get that ready to sear some lamb chops. Meanwhile, let's just set those to the side for a moment. In the oven, I have been roasting some beets, so let me grab those. And then I'm going to actually set the oven to convection roast. You'll know which mode to use on one of the knobs here because it does have small little picture icons to designate what mode is being used. And you have another knob to select the actual temperature. So what I was using earlier for my beets was the straight convection mode, and where in that particular image, you're just going to see a circle with a fan. Now I'm going to change it to convection roast, which will have a line across the top, a line across the bottom, as well as the fan. So you're getting top heat, bottom heat, as well as the fan heat. And when we're ready to place our lamb in, I'll also use the probe and select the internal temperature I'd like for the probe to be. So we have a couple of different things we are going to be testing today. The beets we're roasting in the steam oven, in our regular convection oven here for about 40 minutes, which is a great amount of time to tenderize them and to be able to then easily get the skin off. So here we have our golden beets that have been roasted with just a little bit of olive oil, salt, and pepper. I'm going to put them in a paper towel and just easily rub all of the skin right off. So that was perfect. That's exactly what you're looking for, a beautiful tender beet. And I'll show you how easy that is to slice up now that they are tender. Just a moment. All right, so see that beautiful, tender, and a vibrant color, and they are super juicy as well. All right, we will just place those into this bowl and set those aside for now. Meanwhile, our pan should be nice and hot at this point. I'm going to go ahead and put some oil in the pan and season our lamb chops so we can get those cooking. Just So these lamb chops have already been Frenched, which means that you have all of the bones cleaned, and we're just going to focus on seasoning the fatty, meaty part here, but we do want to render all of the fat. So let's season, and then some salt and pepper, and then straight into the pan. All right, I'm always generous with salt when it comes to seasoning proteins. And now, well, let's go straight into our pan. It should be nice and hot, and these should sear in about 3 to 4 minutes, actually. So here we go. You can hear the sizzle straight away. We have a nice big pan, so there's plenty of room for these to cook. All right. And we'll let that sizzle away. And folks, if you do have any questions, feel free to send them in, leave them in the comments section, and we'll be able to answer your questions here live as we're doing our demonstration. We also have a pro range buying guide, which you'll be able to download. You can either access it on our website, or we'll put up a link for you as well. So that's definitely something you should check out if you're interested in learning about all the other pro ranges that we have, including the Hestan Pro range today. I'm just going to go ahead and season the other side. I can already smell the fat starting to render. The 30,000 BTU burner is definitely doing its job. And we'll actually lift one corner so we can just take a peek and see how that's cooking along in just a matter of a couple of seconds. If you can get a good close up there, you'll see the fat is starting to render really quickly. Same here. All right, we'll let that do its thing. In the meantime, I'm going to take my celery root that was pureeing, that was bubbling and boiling, and I'm going to puree it in the blender. So this was simmering for about 30 minutes. So it was with milk, onions, celery root, and a little bit of garlic. I'm just going to add a little bit more milk to it and a little bit of butter. And we'll get that back on the stove top simmering so we can show how well that extra low feature can hold our sauce. Oops, let's turn that on. Power always helps. All right. All right, now let's get this back into the pan. And actually, I think we can flip the lamb chops now. Look at that beautiful crust forming. Just a matter of a couple of minutes, and we have a gorgeous crust on the lamb chops. Check that side out too. They look great. All right, so this 30,000 BTU burner is certainly doing its job. Now we'll put our sauce, or rather puree, back into the pan, and we're going to hold it using the extra low simmer feature. And this will prevent any scorching or burning. So this is great because although we have such a powerful gas unit, we're still able to maintain and hold a nice low temperature, which is tricky to do sometimes with the more powerful units. But this gives us a great range to work with. So we'll put that right back on there and use the extra low simmer, which is going to use the inner ring there to hold our celery root puree. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is sear the sides of our lamb, but look at that. Again, just a matter of a couple of seconds, and we have a gorgeous sear on the bottom. So I'm going to actually flip the lamb to the side and get the sides quickly seared, and we'll get these into the oven using the probe to get the internal temperature perfect. All right, let's transfer the lamb rack back to our roasting pan. And I'm gonna sear the sides on this one here. Let's turn the heat off. There should be enough residual heat to finish searing off the sides. And I'll also work on my pan sauce using the rendered fat and the fawns that were left behind from the lamb in the pan. All right, that looks pretty good. Wonderful. Okay. So now I'm just going to put a little bit of a yogurt mixture on top of the lamb, and this will actually help my herb za'atar crust adhere to the lamb nicely. That's going to be one of the seasonings that we're using today. So we'll just spread that all across the top and the sides, of course, and this other one as well. All right, and folks, please send in any questions you might have. We'd love to answer them live here during our demonstration. All right, so now we're going to sprinkle some za'atar. Za'atar is a Middle Eastern Mediterranean spice blend. It consists of an indigenous strain of thyme to the Middle East, oregano, sumac, and sea salt. So super herbaceous, lots of flavor, and really goes with everything. You can put it on meat, you can put it on fish, you can bake it in bread, put it in dips, all sorts of things. All right, so there we have our za'atar crust. And I'm gonna now insert the probe, and we'll set the probe using our control panel that is actually located in the handle of our Hestan Pro range. So I'm gonna put this into the thicker rack, which is this one here. Insert it all the way through. Great. And one little snafu. One moment, I just actually have to remove my top rack. It will make it easier to do that when the oven is not hot, but I kind of forgot about that. So sorry about that, guys. All right. Just a moment. Here we go. Okay. So make sure you do that when the oven is cool. And the reason I had to take it out is because the port for our probe is actually located on the upper left-hand side. And if the third rack is in, it does make it difficult to plug in. So just a quick note. All right, so now let's program the probe. First, I selected the menu option. I select the probe option, and then probe temp is going to be 130 for the rack of lamb. So I use the arrows to select down to 130. We have our oven set to convection roast 400, and it gives me the current internal temperature of 95 degrees. So that means it's just going to be a couple of minutes, maybe 10 minutes to get it to temperature. So we'll let the oven do its thing. Meanwhile, we can also work quick on our quick pan sauce while we wait for the rest of the ingredients to come together. So this pan should still be really, really hot from when we seared the rack of lamb, and it is currently off, but you can still hear those onions sizzling away. So we know the oven is still super hot. I'm gonna use my wooden spoon to scrape up all those brown bits from the bottom and just sweat down the onions. You can obviously use shallots and garlic for this as well. Kind of depends on what ingredients you have on hand. I'm going to put a little white wine in here as well. And again, this is just residual heat from when we were searing. So I actually don't have this pan on at the moment. I will turn it on now, but I won't use the maximum temperature. I'll go with a medium low just to bring our sauce together. This is going to be a preserved lemon pan sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and add in our preserved lemon and just blend that with the onions, and then add in some rosemary as well. And then the preserved lemon is definitely a little tart, a little tangy. So just to balance the flavors, I'd put in a little bit of sugar and then salt and pepper, of course. So we'll just let that cook down, and we'll finish it off with a little bit of butter as well. So that's our quick pan sauce. But please, folks, feel free to send in any questions you might have. We are having a great time using this. It's actually a lot of fun. Having such a powerful BTU burner definitely streamlines the cooking process. I mean, we are definitely moving pretty quickly here, so that's great. And it's great to be able to cook this quickly at home. And I think a really good test is actually going to be our wok cooking that we're going to do just after this. While I'm waiting for everything to come together, let's give our puree a little taste. It's wonderful. We're just going to add a little salt and pepper. And I'll also finish doing our beets as well. But so far, this Hestan range has definitely proven to be to deliver on what it's saying. The 30,000 BTU burner is giving us a great sear. We'll check out the wok cooking in just a couple of minutes. I'm able to hold my sauce here. Nothing is bubbling, scorching, burning. So that's definitely doing its job as well. And we're using our probe here. We're already up to 99 degrees. So just everything is working pretty beautifully. Our beets roasted perfectly on the convection mode as well. So right now, I would have to say that this is definitely doing its job. It's doing what it says it's supposed to do. The great thing about the Hestan Pro is also the colors. It comes in a variety of colors. So that's pretty impressive that you have that many options. Typically, most professional appliances, with the exception of Blue Star, are limited to just sort of stainless steel or black stainless steel. But here we have a variety of color options, which is pretty incredible to be able to customize your range to your kitchen and anything else that you might have in your kitchen that you would want to match or contrast those colors with. So far, we are really loving it. All right, so great. Now our probe temperature is reading 104 degrees. So that means we are cooking along really beautifully. And we should be done in just a couple of minutes. So definitely send in those questions. We are moving right along here. So happy to answer them as we cook. I'm going to finish breaking down the beets. This is a great method to roast in any oven, really, but convection does cut down on the cook time, of course. All I did was wrap the beets up in tin foil. I placed them, covered them with some olive oil, salt, and pepper. And then I wrap them tightly in foil. So what ends up happening is as they're cooking in the oven, the steam that's coming off the beets helps to soften and cook them. And then they absorb all that delicious olive oil and they tenderize, and it makes it super easy to peel all the skin right off. So one of my top cooking tips, if you ever do roast beets at home, that's a great method to incorporate. All right, and this obviously works for red beets as well. I am doing golden beets today because they looked so beautiful at the supermarket. But yeah, any root vegetable really that you want to tenderize, if you're not steaming them, then this is a great alternative to preparing them, and you get really nice color on the inside as well. All right, and don't forget to download the Pro Cooking Buying Guide. You can get that either through the link here that we provide, or you can go to our website, and we should have that available there for any other questions about Pro ranges and more information about the Hestan as well. All right, so once our beets are all sliced up, I'm just going to toss them lightly with a little bit more olive oil, salt, and pepper, just to get a little bit more depth of flavor. There we go. And just lightly toss. And these, you could throw them on top of a salad. You can eat them as is. You can put them in a sandwich. There's no limitations. There we go. So our beautiful roasted golden beets. All right, and we have our pan sauce here. The butter is melting beautifully, and it looks like we have a pretty good consistency. It's looking good. And our lamb is at up to 116 degrees. So just a few more minutes to go, and that should be up to temperature. And I can actually click the light on as well to take a peek inside. What's unique about the Hestan range is most control panels would be located right on the oven itself. In this case, it's actually on the handle, which works. There's definitely benefits to that. The oven itself is what gets hot. So most people that use the self-clean mode or self-clean function are hesitant to use it because the oven gets so hot that it might, in the long run, if you were using it very frequently, affect or damage the control panel. Not an issue here because it's located in the handle, separate from the actual oven itself. So we have, that's definitely one of the great benefits to this. All right. So again, guys, this is our sauce. It's being held using the extra low simmer feature. I don't know if you can see the inner ring. The inner ring is glowing. It's on extra low simmer. We have no scorching, no burning, no bubbling. It's just keeping our food nice and hot. And that's 22,000 BTUs. And here we have our 30,000 BTU. And I'm also keeping my sauce nice and warm here on the extra low simmer feature. And we just have a really nice light bubbling, nothing too hot that'll break or separate our sauce. So far our oven, our range is doing everything that it said it's going to do. Quick water break. All right, so if you have any questions, please send them in. We're happy to answer them here live. And even if it's after our live stream, feel free to drop in the questions and we'll answer them as soon as we get them. We'll be happy to answer them. All right, so we're up to, let's take a look here, 126 degrees now on the lamb, so it's almost done. And as soon as that's done, we'll slice it, plate it, and we'll move on to our next dish, which is the Mongolian beef that we're going to stir fry today. So while we wait for the lamb to finish, I'm going to plate up the other parts of our dish. And this is a gourmet dish that literally just comes together so quickly. You saw it here. The beets were done ahead of time, but those are effortless. You roast them. You can roast them in advance if you'd like to. The celery root puree, very simple, and that can be done in advance as well. I'm just going to put a bit of the puree here in the center. And then we'll put our golden beets down as well. All right, folks, and that is our timer. All done. Our lamb is ready to go. So let's pull that out. There we go. All right. Turn that off. Turn that off. Okay, so this is our beautiful za'atar roasted lamb. I'm going to turn the oven off. And look at that, beautifully cooked. This is going to be a nice medium rare. And we'll slice that up in just a moment. Let it rest just for a couple of minutes. I'll finish plating the beets. And any questions you have at all, definitely send them through. All right, and let's plate this up. All right, here we go. And then we're just going to finish it off with a little bit of the sauce. And that is our gourmet. Just trying to figure out where to put this ginormous pan. Here. Let me scooch this over. This as well. All right. Let's place this pan here. Great. Thank you. All right. And now finish it off with a little bit of our pan sauce. And there we have it. We have our beautiful za'atar crusted rack of lamb with the golden beets and celery root puree. And now what I'll do is I'll set us up for the Mongolian beef that we're going to do right here on our wok. All right. So first things first. Let's get this wok preheated. This is a standard carbon steel wok. I do have a flat bottom wok that I'm using today. And that is because we use this wok for our induction cooking demonstrations as well. But you can definitely use it on a regular gas burner as well. So we're just going to put a good, generous amount of vegetable or canola oil. I am using canola oil today. And let me grab some tongs as well. What I have here is flank steak that I thinly sliced and tossed it with some soy sauce, as well as cornstarch and a little bit of oil. And I'm actually going to put some salt on top to make sure that my meat is seasoned properly before I place it into the pan. So the carbon steel wok is a really thin material, which means it's going to preheat pretty quickly. And I can actually already see the smoke coming off of it. So that was very, very quick. So we're going to go ahead and place the thin strips right inside. All right, wonderful. I'm just going to work with half of that at the moment. Just going to put a little bit more oil in the pan. Great. And this is going to give us some, let me get the heat cranked up again. This is going to be our wok dish today. All right, and folks, remember, if you have any questions, please send them through. All right. So we have a good sizzle here. We're getting a good char and good color. Now that I have some color on the actual beef, I'm going to transfer it to a sheet pan and let that rest while I assemble the rest of the beef dish. So that's some serious heat. I can actually feel the heat coming off of the wok this way and around it as well. So I'm going to turn the heat down a bit as I transfer my beef out. And there we go. We got some good crispy bits on there. And now we'll finish the rest of the dish. Into the pan, I'm going to go ahead and place some garlic and ginger. And I did turn the heat a little bit lower so I could make sure that I don't scorch and burn my ginger and garlic. Those are going to cook really, really quickly. Just about 30 seconds to a minute with that. Now we're going to go ahead and add in the soy and the water along with the brown sugar. And then I always like to add in a little bit of sambal. And this sauce is going to reduce down. So I can crank the heat back up. And I'm, in the meantime, going to make a little slurry as well. And that's going to thicken the sauce up. Yeah, there is some serious heat happening here. You guys can see all the heat rising from the sides of the pan. That sauce is reducing extremely fast. So it just goes to show how powerful that BTU burner is. That looks and smells fantastic. We'll give it a couple more minutes to completely reduce, but that looks great. And this is going to give you professional quality results at home. You do need to also think about great ventilation. If you are going to put a range with a 30,000 BTU burner in it, you will need proper ventilation. It's got a great kick to it, nice and sweet and savory and spicy. Perfect. All right, we'll turn the heat down a bit and add our beef strips back in. And add in our slurry as well to thicken up the sauce. And then we'll add in our finishing touches as well. So here we have some cornstarch and water that acts as a thickening agent. We'll just give it a couple minutes as it starts to have its effect on our sauce. A few dried red chili pods will go in there as well. There we have a beautiful thick sauce. And then last but not least, we have some scallions as well. And that's it. Beautiful stir-fried Mongolian beef in a matter of minutes. It comes together so quickly. I mean, this is a very powerful burner. So we definitely achieved fantastic results in a very quick time frame. So I'm definitely happy with that. All right, so what I'm going to do, let me transfer this here We can take a look at the dish itself. And again, I put a little extra sauce in this, but you can definitely put more or less. I'll definitely add a little bit more beef to this, but this is the gist of it. So that is pretty much it, folks. We loved using the Hestan Pro range today. Really impressive. The 30,000 BTU burner did its job. The supporting burners also did their job. They were able to hold, they were able to simmer, and they were able to boil. The oven worked fantastic. We got some great results with our rack of lamb, and the probe worked fantastic. So this is a wonderful range, customizable colors, and extremely powerful. So if you want something that's super heavy duty, but also fun to look at, this is a great option. Thank you so much for joining us today, and stay in touch for our next live demonstration. We'll be posting that on our social media, and have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for tuning in.